Hi, Faye. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
All righty. We should be ready to go in a few minutes here. Uh, I got started there a little bit late with the video. Yeah, we're all excited. We'll wait a second till the stage, thing lights up, and so people
Sure.
know that. Are you had you had a chance to use this hopping platform before?
We used it once for an event last year. We actually were doing an audit of platforms for event and communities, and so we used it for one of our events. But we also tested about 4 or 5 other ones.
Well, good, good, good. Did you come across one that actually had the networking feature?
Yeah, we've used a couple. Of course, those are more expensive.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. So, in my search, about a year and a half ago, I, so far the only one I found where you can do like the one-on-one networking is this Hopin platform, and
Mm,
yeah, Pat Rooney and I think you talked to him before. He actually invited me to a one-on-one video chat, just before you got backstage, and so we were actually talking one-on-one video, just like you and I right now.
yes, yeah,
So
it's very helpful.
yeah, so but like I kind of think like I've been hosting network events since like the early 90s, and I don't think people realize the ability to talk to people one on one. It's actually a neat feature.
It is and needed, right?
Yeah,
It kind of helps you replace what you would get in a conference format, right?
yeah, yeah. And that's basically what they did, with this Hopin platform. But I think it, like when you look at how fast it grew, being over $6 billion company in less than a year and a half, that's pretty pretty fantastic.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's where people are right now. It's like think about how fast Zoom had to grow just in
Yes,
response to the
yeah.
pandemic, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I guess we can go ahead and get started. The stage thing's all lit up, and we're streaming. We're streaming on Facebook and LinkedIn, and actually a couple of Facebook pages and Twitter. So we're
Okay.
yeah, so we're excited to be here and welcome everyone to Startup on the Blocks. We're excited to have Miss Faye Horwath. How do you pronounce your last name?
Horwit.
Horwith. Horwit. Okay, I got it now. Should have asked that earlier. I apologize. Yeah,
That's all right.
but yeah, we are definitely trying to connect with people who are thinking about becoming founders, people who are founders, and people. We just want to connect them to the resources to kind of help them grow, and also we want them to learn the best practices. But one of the reasons we wanted you on tonight, Faye, was to because you've been doing a lot with the ecosystem building, and also trying to make the ecosystem a lot more equitable for entrepreneurs. So I thought that would be good to share, and also you know I think there's a lot of funding being put out there for minority businesses and stuff like that, and especially with the American Rescue Plan. And I don't know if any of that money's made it down here to our city, county, or
Mhm.
state yet, but we definitely want to kind of understand that a little bit. I, I yeah, I could go on and on, but I'm really excited. But why don't you take a second to yeah, I guess I would like to acknowledge how we met, how we
Sure.
connected. I guess I'm on the a part of an entrepreneurship ecosystem working group here in Pensacola, and Pat Rooney, I guess, had invited you to you all to present at that group there. Uh, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Most
Yes.
definitely.
Yeah, and I didn't know much about what your work was, and you all were talking about a specific thing there, and I didn't get to hear all of it, but I did look at your briefing and everything, and I've since learned you all have been doing a lot of things, and so we're definitely anxious, to hear about what you all have been doing. So, and I want to invite the audience. So if you have any questions, just feel free to pop them in the chat, and please use the stage chat so we can look at them there. And those of you out on Facebook, feel free to pop your questions, in the chat area there as well. We'll try to do our best to respond. All right, tell them a little bit about yourself, Faye.
Okay. Well, before I do that, I always, when I'm invited to come and speak, I would love to know who I'm talking with. So if you can, in the
Okay,
chat.
yeah, I apologize.
No,
Yeah,
no,
because
no.
we hadn't had a chance to really talk yet. So my situation is, I retired from the Air Force Research Lab back in 2012, and I've always been an entrepreneur, even there. And I learned a lot about developing technology while I was there, and they kind of give you an idea, I, Air Force Research Lab. I worked in the munitions directorate, and we did a lot of research for technology for weapons. We did technology development for robots and drones, and I managed to branch that where my average budget was $40 million a year. So we did a lot of technology development. But I started a startup cognitive big data system. My co-founder and I back in 2000. Actually, we came up with the idea in 2014, and we actually formalized our business in 2015 when we were going to get a check for $25,000 to go through an accelerator program. So I thought I better
Now we get a little formal. You're going to get $20,000.
But long story short, over the past few years, I participated in a lot of accelerator programs, and and received non-diluted cash, close to 150 grand, and just through these training programs and corporate accelerator programs, received over, maybe like close to $300,000 in free software, free internet service, free this, free that, and and then also received a lot of training, probably over $250,000 worth of training.
Wow.
And so these resources are out there to help, and I haven't had to give up any equity in my company.
Wow.
and so these resources are out there. And so with Startup on the Blocks, we're just trying to make people aware that these resources are out there, and that you just have to learn the best practices for building a startup, and so you can actually pitch your idea properly. And when you apply for these different pitch competitions, accelerator programs, you know how to answer the questions. And so we have some playbooks where we don't try to reinvent the wheel with all the startup stuff. The Y Combinator has the free startup school. You can do it online. So we have everybody that to go ahead and enroll in that and go through that course. Like there is a free entrepreneurship course coming up, starting in September 13th. We encourage people to apply for that. Locally, we have the G Alpha program, G Beta program, and all these programs, and we just encourage people to apply. And we sent out a weekly newsletter, and the one I sent out yesterday, it had over $1 million worth of opportunities there for founders. All founders of color, women founders, it's amazing. And last summer, I noticed that after the George Floyd murder, the big companies started setting aside funds for Black founders and Black and brown founders. And so, I'm not sure what the count is now, but when I stopped counting, it was over $5 billion. Mm-hmm. But you can't take advantage of the money if you don't know how to pitch your idea and how to the best practices for building a startup. And now I see all this money coming as a result of COVID and American Rescue Plan, and so just trying to money being set aside for minority businesses. And I just think we need to prepare people to be ready to get the help they need to move forward. That's what I'm doing.
Got it. Okay, Lloyd, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. That's helpful context for the conversation. And, would love to, while I get started, I'd love to know who else is in the room and who you are, right? Are you entrepreneurs in the room? Are you entrepreneur supporters? Do you run support organizations? You mentors? I'd love to just drop in the chat your name and what you do. And I'll share a little bit about myself. Okay. One of the things that's I'm glad you shared your history, Lloyd, because I have a bit of a similar background, not the long military piece. Okay. My connection there is I did speak at the AFWorks conference last year, which was a wonderful treat, and got to know a lot of folks that came through the pathway you described. But I serve as the president and CEO of Forward Cities, but I did not start there. I actually started as an entrepreneur, and my path was similar to yours in that I got turned on to accelerator programs and incubators and that whole world actually by accident. I was attempting to start my own business. My daughter was experiencing some challenges, and I had to sort of figure out. I wasn't able to have full-time work at the time because I had to be there for her. So I had to figure out what am I going to do. I had a background. I had worked for the YWCA, and for many years had helped friends start their businesses in terms of helping them, because I was self-trained in marketing, graphic design, and web design at the time. I helped my friends get their businesses up and running and online, and gave them some advice about beginning to think about business models. I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship at the time. I had not run my own business, but I knew what consumers wanted. I understood had always been a lifelong problem solver. And so I was an entrepreneur, a natural entrepreneur by nature. And when I had to go figure out what I was going to do next, I was like, well, why don't I take my marketing skills and my love of helping entrepreneurs and combine them into my own business? Wow, and so I thought I started a business helping women entrepreneurs to market their companies. And I was all excited. I thought, this is the best idea ever. Nobody has ever done this. And thought I could go get, tons of investment money to do this. And so I moved back home to my hometown and happened to see they were advertising for a startup weekend. And I thought, I've never heard of what this is. I'm very curious. And they said on the news, hey, you can come and pitch your business idea and get funding. And I just thought, I've never heard of this. This is exciting. Let me go see what I can do. And I walk into the room. They say, come prepared for this 5-minute pitch. And I just had it, in my mind what I was going to say. And this very high touch business, right? This sort of touchy-feely women's kind of business. Okay. And so I show up, I look around. It's probably about 50 participants. There's about I think there were 2 Black men in the room, and I was the only Black woman out of about 50 folks. Okay. And I remember thinking, and I'm a person that has in my life been around white community all my life. White schools, white college. This was sort of where I felt comfortable. But for some reason in that setting, it really struck me that I expected to see more diversity in the room. And I immediately felt like, okay, am I supposed to be here? Am I in the right place? Yes. And then they went on to start pitching, and I was hearing that all these businesses were tech-based. And they were talking about, $1 billion, of revenue. I was like, I'm just trying to start a little marketing company. Yeah. I felt so outsized, and I felt so out of place. Yes. But I stayed because there was something very intriguing about what I was seeing. Yes. And for the first time, that was realizing that someone could stand up in front of a room without a 50-page business plan and convince people of an idea and get funding. And I thought this is just very intriguing to me. So I, I stayed. I learned. I watched. The group that we participated in ended up coming in second that weekend.
Wow.
But on that Friday night, what they tell you is, hey, you know what? Hey, this is a full weekend thing. You know, you guys are going to work overnight. Here's some couches you can sleep on if you want to. And everybody was fully prepared to do that. And I stopped in my tracks and I said, I'm sorry, I'm not equipped to do that right now. I have a teenage daughter at home. Mm-hmm. I can't stay here and do this all night. Mm-hmm. My lifestyle did not fit this opportunity.
Yes.
And I ended up, asking my mom to take care of my daughter for the evening, but it was eye-opening for me, because when that happened, it made me realize that not everybody, even though this opportunity exists, and like you said, Lloyd, there's resources out there, there's opportunities, there's things for entrepreneurs, but it's not all accessible. And that's what hit me at the moment. And I ended up being offered free co-working space for 3 months.
Wow.
Took advantage of it.
Yeah.
And that Sunday, as I was leaving, the owner of the co-working space, it was a white gentleman, he stopped me and said, I liked what you had to say. I liked your pitch on your business idea. We would love to be able to help more women. We would love to have more diversity here at our space. Would you like to work together on this? And I ended up developing a great relationship with them, getting a contract to sort of do their marketing. I ended up making so many connections through that, just being in that space and meeting other entrepreneurs and meeting other organizations that were helping entrepreneurs. Yeah. And like 50 feet away from this high-tech co-working space in the Innovation Quarter was the Small Business Center. And I wandered over there one day and I said, hey, want to know what you're up to? Learned all about what they were doing. And it was just intriguing to me that these two entities didn't talk. They weren't really connected. They weren't doing anything together. And they were sort of these two siloed, supports for entrepreneurs, but completely disconnected. And the people they served weren't the same. And the people they served didn't talk to one another. And the concepts were different. So I learned Lean Startup from, the startup weekend and from the accelerator, or the co-working space that ran the accelerator. And then I began to work with the people from the Small Business Center. And I said, you know what, I'm going to put my business idea on hold, because I want to figure out how to help entrepreneurs like me who don't fit in this lane. Right. And they may not feel like this is the place for them, but there was so much value in what I learned that I knew they needed to know that was there. Right. And so I started hosting workshops and seminars for women entrepreneurs in Lean Startup. So teaching small business owners Lean Startup principles. That was how I started, particularly women. And I started coaching women entrepreneurs who really didn't know where to go, didn't feel like they had help, didn't feel like that the organizations that were there and the mentors that were available through the SBA understood them, because they didn't look like them, right? Yeah. And so that's how I tripped into this entrepreneurial support work. And in doing that, what it also made me realize is these entrepreneurs were telling me all of the different challenges they had trying to get help and support as women or as people of color in the local entrepreneurial ecosystem. Right. And that they were observing things like people were, the organizations seemed to be competing with one another, and they seemed to be having like the same kind of events over and over again. And, that they couldn't get referrals and things like that. And that's when I began to understand that there was a whole nother layer of work that needed to be done on a level of those who were serving entrepreneurs. Yes. That this was a whole nother sphere of influence and of opportunity. And so I began to join the groups of these leaders who were having conversations, and very much wanted to share with them, hey, here's what I'm hearing from entrepreneurs of color in particular about the challenges that they are facing, and how they're not getting support and resources. And, began to understand that there were some inequities about how services were being offered, what was being offered, how people were being treated, and that there were some discriminatory practices. And so I began to think about how I could lift up a layer, or a level. And rather than working at the entrepreneur level, I began to think about working at the ecosystem level. And what does it mean to go even beyond being a provider for a service provider for entrepreneurs, but to think one level above that, which is, okay, the ecosystem. Right. And how do you connect the dots between entrepreneurs and those that serve them, and between service providers and between service providers, right? Mm-hmm. In a way that they're able to collaborate and align efforts for the better service of entrepreneurs, particularly from an equity lens. And so I began to talk about these inequities, and the money that I had been given to sort of support that work started drying up, because people liked it when I was when I was helping them to sort of reach a more diverse audience. The organization liked it, but they didn't necessarily want to hear that they weren't being equitable and that they were not diverse. And so
that's a tough pill to swallow for some people.
It's tough, and people were not ready for that conversation. This was 4 or 5 years ago. This is a conversation that is happening now, and people are, like you said, they're jumping up and volunteering and saying, hey, we want to do our part. We want to be more equitable. But that's because it's now public and people are feeling like they're being put on the spot in some ways, right? But this was before that, and no one wanted to have that conversation. And so that just pushed me even more to want to have the conversation. So, I ended up taking a job. I went looking for first, who's doing this kind of work? Who can I learn from? Because obviously this is happening. These challenges are being faced all around the country. Well, actually, at the time, I thought it was just my town. I wanted to get help from my town. I thought it was broken. I thought the systems were jacked up. And, so I started looking for who's doing this that I can learn from. There were 2 organizations that were doing it. I found the Kauffman Foundation, who's really leaning into how do you support these ecosystems, and what is ecosystem building? Meaning people just like me who are trying to connect the dots for entrepreneurs. And then an organization called Forward Cities that I discovered that was doing this work from an equity lens. And I reached out. We were doing some work using the Kauffman Foundation ecosystem playbook. So I deployed some of that in community. And then I reached out to Forward Cities to say, hey, would you be interested in coming to my town? And they said, well, do you have funding for that? And I said, I don't have any money. I would love to help entrepreneurs in my community in this way, but I don't have the money. And as I was talking to the founder, Christopher Gurian, I was flipping around their website and realized that they had a job. And this job was Director of Community Innovation. And it was doing exactly what I had been doing and trying to make the equity case and telling me that I had permission to do it. Okay. And it was, when I saw it, he's like, well, you're running your own organization now. Would you be interested? I said, I am definitely interested. And I interviewed the next week. I was hired the week after that.
Wow.
The week after that, I was sitting at the Kauffman Foundation talking about how do we create this programming and how do we do this in communities. Come to find out, Forward Cities had just been given a grant by the Kauffman Foundation to do this very work. And I was the person that would be responsible for that program.
Fantastic.
I could not have scripted that confluence of events.
That one.
It has completely changed the trajectory of my life, my career, and now Forward Cities. The work that we do, we get to work with communities and leaders like you, and the fantastic folks at in Pensacola and Pat Rooney, and we get to do folks like that. We get to help you all figure out how to create more equity in your local entrepreneurial ecosystems. And
Yes.
we've worked in over 30 communities around the country now, and continue to figure out ways to help connect the dots better, to remove barriers, bias, and bureaucracy for BIPOC entrepreneurs, and to test ideas for what can do that, right?
Yeah.
Once we test and figure out some things, we scale them, and we help spread those best practices across the communities we work with.
Yeah, that's a really, really great, and I'm happy and excited that you found something that you were passionate about, and that's something that's actually needed and still needed and will be needed. That's pretty fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, and what I kind of discovered, so we started the Startup on the Blocks thing about a year, just a little about a year ago actually, and so this is probably like our 61st event, and so yeah, we've been doing these events every week, and what I sort of seen, and like when you talk about making entrepreneurship and this information accessible, and so a platform like this Hopin thing, and with the ability to come in and network with other people, and also to have guests like you from all over to kind of share knowledge. I think it's really helps give more people access to information. But I think the the question for me, just like when you stumbled on that startup weekend, it's hard to imagine that something, all these resources are available, and so it's just trying to break through on that barrier, to kind of help people understand that these resources are there. And the other thing I realized working in on small businesses, my own small businesses and stuff, that they take a lot of work, they take a lot of effort, but if somebody's willing to train me on how to build something that scale, and I don't have to pay them, and it takes the same amount of work as my, I said, well, I think I like this startup stuff a whole lot better.
Mm.
Yeah, and because there are a lot more resources out there to kind of help you, So I've traveled all over the world, and been selected to, we're being able to work with companies like Avis Budget, BP, IBM, and worked for the country of Poland, and so it's just like it's just a different kind of mindset. But I think we also have to get over the fact that the best, to me, the best founders are non-tech people, because they are close to the problem and they know what the problem is. Like, let's say, for instance, this platform Hopin, that guy, he got sick and couldn't go to conferences, and so he didn't have a clue how to build this platform, and so, but he wanted the same experience, at home that he had going to conferences. So
Right.
literally created something exactly like what he had been doing, and to go from launching in February 2020, less than a year and a half ago, to now having a company that's worth over $6 billion. That's like amazing. But
Most definitely.
just using the startup, the lean startup methodologies, and so so it's exciting for me. But I do think we need to make sure that things are accessible, to our entrepreneurs of color.
Right. Most definitely. And what we see is that these challenges tend to fit in three categories. And that is, this idea of the barriers that entrepreneurs face because of the color of their skin and their perceptions of their ability or not, or what they are able to achieve. And so they lack, the ability to get, funding or supports in different areas, or they lack access. They lack the a sense of belonging in the spaces where they go to get support and help.
Mm-hmm.
And so it prevents them from being able to sort of achieve at their highest level. There's also biases that impact. So how are you able to what you're able to get access to from a standpoint of how others will turn you down for opportunities because of what they perceive, right?
Okay.
And then bureaucracy, so
Yeah.
extra hoops to jump through, extra types of limitations and paperwork and restrictive sort of rules that really don't serve anyone and tend to keep people away from opportunities. And so we saw that with the PPP applications, where
Mm-hmm.
there was a lack of technical understanding of how to sort of apply, or to or to even have all of the required documentation to apply.
Yeah.
And so those are the kinds of things that are that keep being able to participate equitably
Right.
in opportunity. And our job is to work with community leaders and organizations to either remove or address, mitigate those barriers, so everyone has equitable opportunity. And it is whether you're in tech, whether you're micro business or you're retail,
Yeah.
the needs are different, right? So the
Yeah.
different support needs are different, and because there's so much money flowing in the tech space, a lot of those folks don't need the people or people resources as much as those that aren't able to get venture capital, right? They more so have to focus on how mentor, how to get a loan, how do I make sure that I'm able to access affordable real estate? Can someone support me if I questions? How do I the pandemic? Those are questions that startups and tech companies don't have to worry about. A lot of them are thriving right now in the middle of the pandemic because they're not operating under those same limitations.
Yeah, and I agree. Looks like we got a question here. Terry Williams, he's over the Minority Chamber in Panama City, and they're looking for some help over there. So, in that kind of situation, how would your organization, be able to assist the folks in Panama City to kind of make things a little bit more equitable?
So that's exactly the work we do. So someone like that that works for an organization similar to that would reach out to Forward Cities, and we would talk with them to understand their needs, just like market research. What is working for you? What's not? How can we support? And a lot of what we do is come in and help to do surveys and focus groups to understand the problem. If you're really trying to solve a problem for entrepreneurs, what do the entrepreneurs need? What are they missing? And we help you do sense making around what we discover and analyze what and help you co-create solutions for addressing those barriers. We'll help you form a local council, across the ecosystem to figure out how to work on this together, because often it's not enough for one organization to be leaning in. You really need to create a network of force who are working together for the same goal, right? And so we'll help you form that group and create some solutions, get some things in place to discern what your ecosystem needs and how you can improve that work. Or if you want to do it just for your organization, we can come in and do consulting to support you to serve in a more equitable way as well.
Right.
And often we'll also help organizations that are more grassroots figure out how do they become sustainable from a financial standpoint, and how do they build their own capacity to serve and become sustainable over time.
Yeah, and so on that last thing you just said, like, do you think any of the American Rescue Plan money is going to go towards those efforts?
It should, and we really hope it does.
Okay.
What we find is a lot of that money has been designated to go directly to entrepreneurs and businesses, which is great. The challenge is that if they don't have the proper support networks to sustain them over time, there's not equal investment put into that, then what you will find is a lot of these entrepreneurs will take that short-term money and they will flame out because they don't have the resources and support and knowledge to be able to get past this pandemic, right? To be able to weather it long enough to be able on the other side. And so that money often will go into businesses that will end up being closed anyway.
Yeah.
We are advocating for portions of those funds to go to support organizations, particularly
Yes.
those that are led by people of color and women that know how to best serve and support these entrepreneurs long term, and that some of those investment dollars go to support a broader ecosystem effort, an ecosystem builder, to help ensure that there's a really sustaining environment going forward.
Yeah, and so like I'm glad you mentioned that because the SBA Navigator program, to me, a perfect example of what it's kind of I want to highlight the SBA Navigator program because here in our region the SBDCs joined together to put in a plan, and for as a proposal, and for as I know, they were just going to expand the services they already were doing. It didn't seem like it was going to be anything innovative,
Yeah.
and to me that's a problem.
That with that grant application, a lot of folks treated it that way, and I wouldn't be surprised if those kinds of things didn't get funding. They will, because they're the institutional partners that always get the money.
Yeah.
And they're just basically saying, oh, well, we'll tag on this diversity thing, or we'll add this thing. And it's not really what they're good at. And they don't know how to serve those markets. And, I do hope that with this grant, we applied for it as well. But I do hope that it doesn't go that way. I hope their choice is made to really look at, supporting and capitalizing the grassroots organizations that are really on the ground doing this work and know how to serve entrepreneurs of color and BIPOC entrepreneurs. And we'll look to see, what happens with it. But it is a great opportunity. And I hope it's the beginning of more.
Yeah. And, like that was the small business development of small SBA, but I was wondering, it's my impression that some of that rescue plan money is going to go to each state and filter on down to the counties and the cities. But typically, just like the SBA Navigator program, that money wasn't going directly to any entrepreneur themselves. It was just going to support organizations to support the entrepreneurs.
I hope that is the case. What we're seeing in some places is that the governments are actually hanging on to the money and haven't spent it. And in a time when entrepreneurs and organizations are really hurting, we hope that they're able to really funnel those funds in the right direction. Mm-hmm. So we look forward and hope that this is a chance for system change and a new way of doing entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial support in America.
So what role do you think technology platforms like Hopin and the Clubhouse audio platforms, and I think all the Facebook, Twitter, and everybody's coming out with those platforms. It seems like it will make the access to the knowledge, all this knowledge, and more accessible. But I'm not sure if we are embracing it like we should to take advantage of. Take advantage of the opportunity to have this access, to the knowledge.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that certainly whenever there's technology to help with access, that's always going to be helpful. I think it still comes down to people. It comes down to the human beings, how they choose to use it, whether they choose to use it, and for what purposes they choose to use it. And so, I think it's no different than if you were in person. It is. Technology is a tool, but it's a tool to be used by people. So we have to figure out what is it we want to achieve with the technology and how best use it to serve. But thank you very much for the opportunity to be here to share.
All righty. And I don't see any more questions. I think we got them, and we appreciate you, coming on, and I apologize for running a little over here with you.
No worries.
Yeah. And so
it's been great to be with you. Thank you.
Yeah. We look forward to working with you here in Pensacola and all over Northwest Florida. Thanks.
All right. Good luck, everyone. Have a good evening.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Yeah, we definitely, if you all have any comments or a question about the conversation, Faye had to hop on another meeting, and so, but we were definitely excited for her to share her expertise. Um, so feel free to chime in and give me your thoughts on this access to programs and information that can help you grow your business, whether you have a startup or a traditional small business. So feel free um, to um, chime in on that. And Vercel, I don't know if I didn't get a chance to look on Facebook or anything to see if we had any questions out there. Look, want to definitely take advantage of those, try to get any of those answered if possible as well. Yes, so I guess I'll go ahead and go back to our little startup on the blocks introduction, and I have to apologize for um, uh, what's his name, David, with the connection. I need to have his logo on here, so I'm going to get it put on here for next week because they helped out with the pitch competition and offered free advertisement and stuff like that as well. So yeah, so we're excited about Startup on the Blocks, and we're hoping to add some more sponsors on here. So if you know of an organization that's willing to help out, we will be glad to kind of help them understand what we're doing. And so, just for you all in the audience, we are all about making sure you have information to help you grow your business, or even before you start a business, make sure you understand what resources are out there and what are the best practices for building that. And I saw a few new people on tonight. We definitely glad you all stopped by, and so we. Innisfree Hotels, they sponsor, help sponsor our pitch competitions, and we work with the Gulf Coast Minority Chamber, and they offer memberships to our pitch competition winners. The Pensacola Chamber, the same thing, and we work closely with the Small Business Development Center as well. And Gulf Power, came in as a major sponsor for the Startup on the Blocks as well. They're always doing good to kind of support the region, and we love Bantucola. It's a Black business directory, so Bantucola. So definitely look that up. And they also Chris, who runs that, he also has a media company, and they do our streaming of our events as well. I'm gonna. We talked about that funding that's set aside, and there's well over, showing $4 billion here, but it's well over $5 billion set aside for Black and Brown founders. And I'm going to go quick past some of these things here. We have Ash Maurya coming up in a couple of weeks, and he's the inventor of the Lean Canvas and the methodology. He has a book out there right now called Running Lean, and he also has a whole training program, and we're looking forward to getting this training program and actually making it available to you all in the community to learn and use this Lean Startup methodology. And I see and Pat is suggesting folks share their contact information in the chat, so feel free to do that, so other folks online can actually see what the deal is there. Let's see, we got one additional mentor from the Small Business Development Center, Tay Larry. So I want to make sure you all are aware of that. The folks in the pre-accelerator program, so make sure you get matched up with one of the mentors, and so we can move forward. And I forgot to mention a couple of weeks ago, John Rigsby and Jessica Griffin were telling me they got their patent awarded for their educational product and Eduosity, and so we want to definitely congratulate them for that. And they already been getting millions of dollars in offers to buy the patent and license the patent from them. So we want to congratulate them on their success there. Uh, let's see here. I'm gonna stop sharing that, and I'm gonna share one more thing here before we wrap things up. Let's make sure we get this shared. Okay. Yep. So we got it. Let's see here. Yes, and so the last week, um, uh, Miss Daniels, she did a great job on this product building foundation, and so I'm hoping, the link in our last newsletter, it it was it's there. So make sure you look at her video, and all the new people tonight. You'll get the email, and well, yeah, you'll get the email list, and we catalog all these videos so you can actually take a close look at them. And I hope some of you all out there are planning on applying for the CEO free entrepreneurship training, a 10-week program that's going to end in a pitch competition for the team that has the best best business plan. So that should be pretty exciting. Yeah, and like I was saying with Faye, there are a lot of opportunities out there for founders, and pitch competitions. And these are a couple of pitch competitions, and this particular program right here, and if you look in our newsletter and click that link, it's basically they're going to teach you if you sell anything on Amazon, they will teach you. It's a free training program for that. I've already signed up for that, and I think this fellowship thing right here is like worth for like $100,000, and it's just on and on. All these different programs. I think the eBay grants are like 10 grand. The deadline is tomorrow. And here locally we got the G Beta program where we've had John and Jessica participated in that, and I think we're going to have some of the folks that participated in the G Alpha program to apply and hopefully can get into that G Beta program this summer. And there's another one up in the Birmingham area. So they keep extending the dates of these pitch competitions. So here you got 3 pitch competitions that giving away $100,000, and yeah, and here's another one. They're giving away $100,000, and so these opportunities are out there. And in this category, the ones here are for all founders, and then we have some opportunities down here for Black founders, and so founders of color, Hispanic, and so I recommend. And I think this one right here said deadline was yesterday. I went on there and they were still taking applications yesterday, and so all of these programs and this Amazon Black Business Accelerator, that was giving out 10 grand. They're still taking applications. I'm not sure when they're going to stop, but they're supposed to be doing that sometimes this month as well. And women founders, and believe me, there are a lot more stuff out there for women founders. It's I get a lot of this stuff streamed to my email, but I think if you if you just realize these things are out there and start registering in some of the sites, you'll start getting notifications for some of these things. And for the nonprofits that are out there, that's really neat as well. And so all these things here in the newsletter, all these things that we recommend, and our number one recommendation is the startup school, and this elfsuccess.com. and also the Spark XYZ, registering your startup, your bid, and and creating a personal profile on these things. And then they got all these organizations that are constantly coming up with things um, for founders of color. Over the weekend on Saturday, Carlos and I we participated in one of the meetings they had for this business growth hub ran by Georgia Tech, Morehouse, and the Minority Business Development Center, and they got a large grant to support minority businesses in the southeast. So if you haven't registered your company, it doesn't matter if you got a startup or a regular business. They're providing support, for that. So that's a good one to actually register, and there's some specifically for black and uh, women founders as well. I was trying to find the one that's uh, have some resources. Yeah, yeah. So there's just tons of stuff. I guess this is what I was looking for. Yeah. So you look at this one is showing you that there's over 742 resources for Black founders, and there's no shortage. And these are some of the emails things I apply for, and also some of the presentations that that are pretty powerful. I go ahead and put them here, and I'll add the two from last week, at least to this list. Um, uh, Tom did a great job on this self acceleration, and these are just some background links here for some stuff. And this is a TED talk that Joey, I mean Womack did, and so that's a really good one as well. I'm gonna do one more thing here real quick. Um, Stop sharing that. Yeah. Also, uh, oh, Grover Brown, he sent out an email and did some Facebook posts today. He's participating in this conference, so we wanted to make everybody aware of that, and I'll make sure that link is in the email as well. Let me see here. And there's also this is CEII will help you with this particular um, uh, fund here. So, like if you have any um, uh, issues with the COVID and you need some cash flow, they're available to help you out, and I'll get those links and post them in the chat here. So, do we have any? Okay, I'll definitely get these links out there so you can can get them there. Okay, let me see. Can I get them real quick? So here's I'm posting the one to the 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 cash flow um, grants and loans and stuff. See if I can get it to paste. Okay. Having a little challenge here. Ready. I'll work on getting those. For some reason, they're not pasting like I want them to. Let me try one other place to get it. Okay, there you go. So that's one of them. Second one here real quick. And that's the second one for the conference there. All righty. Any questions or comment out there in the audience? We have some, we're working on some exciting guests for the future. And so just stay tuned, and you all, we're going to definitely get you all connected. I did want to also make an announcement too, talking with Rachel Gillette today. She's the president of the Student Community Institute. They're beefing up their diversity, equity, and inclusion program, and they're going to go full force with the programs to support minority businesses. And so I was glad to hear that they hired Rodney Jackson, and he'll be coming on board soon. And we'll do what we can to partner with them to make sure we get some resources in here to support the minority businesses. So that's real exciting news, and so we're really excited about that. All righty, I'm not going to prolong the time. If I don't see any questions out there in the audience, we want to make sure everybody enjoy the Labor Day weekend coming up, and be safe. And we're not going to do the office hours on Saturday, and so that is so just we'll start back on the following week. We will work on getting exciting guests for next week, and we'll probably try to get some of our startups on. So if you're out there, one of our founders, and want to come on next week, we'll be glad to get you on. Thank you all. So did Dr. Stella, were you able to get those links there? Yeah, so yeah, I post them on the stage chat, so just make sure you look there, and you'll have them. Let's see. All righty. Thank you all. We'll see you all next week for Startup on the Blocks. And thanks, Miss Faye, for coming on. Thanks, Tia Bond, for helping out there with getting her on. Thanks, Vercel. We appreciate you all showing up tonight, and we'll keep trying to get you all connected to resources to kind of help you move forward. Thanks a lot. Have a safe weekend. Bye, everyone.